Hello, AP Environmental Science students. Today we are continuing to look at Chapter 25, which is Environmental Worldviews, Ethics, and Sustainability. All of today's notes are based on Living in the Environment, the 16th edition, by Miller and Spoolman. Today's focus is going to be on Chapter 25.2 and 25.3. I'm putting them together because they are very intertwined and Chapter 25.2 is really short. So our essential questions for this chapter, again, haven't changed since 25.1. They are, how is an anthropocentric worldview different from a biocentric worldview? And how might differing environmental worldviews affect how people approach their environmental problems and their decisions? So Chapter 25.2 is, what is the role of education in living more sustainably? So the first step to doing that is to become environmentally literate. There are three foundations of environmental literacy. So the first of those foundations is natural capital matters. Natural capital are natural resources and services that keep us and other species alive and support our economies. Second, our ecological footprints are immense and growing rapidly. Third, ecological and climate change tipping points are irreversible and should never be crossed. In order to be environmentally literate, you have to understand these three things. Once you do that, then the next step requires answering key questions and having a basic understanding of key topics. So some of these questions you need to answer, and this is a figure right out of your book, are things like, how does life on Earth sustain itself? How am I connected to the Earth and other living things? Where do the things I consume come from, and where do they go after I use them? What is environmental wisdom? What is my worldview? And what is my responsibility as a human being? Some basic concepts you have to understand can be listed here. But other goals that you can find in your textbook include things like developing respect or reverence for all life, understanding as much as you can about how the Earth works and sustains itself, being able to see the big picture by looking for connections within our biosphere, understanding the relationships between the economy and the Earth's natural life support systems, using critical thinking skills to become seekers of environmental wisdom, understand and explain our environment worldviews, learn how to evaluate the beneficial and harmful environmental consequences that result from things that we may do, and to foster a desire to make the world a better place. So one of the big conversations when it talks about environmental wisdom is formal education enough? So you being in school or you being told something through a commercial, is that enough to make people care about the environment? And for most analysts and scientists, they say no. So not only do you have to understand why things are good for the planet or good for nature or their economic value, but you also have to understand the ecological, aesthetic, and spiritual value. So you have to enjoy nature. It requires you to find your sense of place. The idea here is that if humans feel connected to the Earth, they're more likely to fight to save it. Chapter 25.3 then asks the question, how can we live more sustainably? And the basic idea here is that in order to do that, you have to become environmentally literate, which is what we talked about in the last section, and you have to learn from nature. You have to be able to live more simply and lightly on the Earth, and you have to become an active environmental citizen. So one of the big things in this chapter, it discusses how we are able to live more simply and lightly on the Earth. So a lot of this comes from your moral compass and your ethics and the things that you value. And one of those big things is seeking happiness through the pursuit of materials is considered folly or not a good thing, by almost every major religion and society. However, in our society, advertising encourages it. It wants you to buy more stuff because that's how these companies make their money. So they advertise new, pretty, the best, the most updated. Think about how many times you see a new, updated, better, in quotes, cell phone commercial. It happens every 2 years, and every time it comes out, we want the newest, best thing. One of the quotes that I see in your book and see a lot when talking about environmental science is, civilization is the limitless multiplications of unnecessary necessities, which is so true. All of a sudden we need this new phone, or we need that shirt, and we don't necessarily need it, but we act like we need it. We feel like we need it because that's the pressure society puts on us. So living sustainably shifts that outlook. It's about living well, but within certain limits of consumption. So when we talk about what living well means, we have to think about how much is enough. So we have basic needs: food, clean air, shelter, clothing. Everybody needs those things. So you need to be able to purchase or grow your own food. You need access to clean air, shelter, and you need to go buy clothing. That's fine. But there's also another level, which is qualitative needs. So these are other things that most psychologists say that humans need. So those qualitative needs are secure and meaningful livelihood, a good physical and mental health, an opportunity to learn and express talents that's either like athletic or educational talents, mechanical, artistic. You should have access to nurturing family and friends and be part of a community that you feel safe, is peaceful, and secure. You should have freedom to make personal choices, have a sense of belonging to a particular place or community, live in a clean and healthy environment that's vibrant with biological and cultural diversity, and have an assurance that your children or grandchildren will be able to meet these same basic needs and qualitative needs. The key question you have to ask yourself is, these are the things that humans need to A, survive, and B, feel like they are living a thorough and meaningful life. How much of what we actually own or can actually buy helps us to meet these needs? So our book talks about two different types of lifestyles that are kind of becoming more popular, at least more heard of in the media, in life, in culture. So the first one is voluntary simplicity, and that's where you're doing and enjoying more with less by using products and services that have a smaller environmental impact. Affluent people in developing countries often adopt this. Downshifters is another type of lifestyle, and those are people who reduce their income and alter their lifestyle so they can interact with each other more, spend more time on their family, travel more. So downshifters in the U.S. are usually depicted as doing tiny house living. You've probably seen this on HGTV or something like that, which is where they kind of quit their jobs, they sell their big houses, get rid of most of their belongings, and build these tiny houses that are mobile usually. And you can hitch to your car or truck and take around the country, and you just need to find a place to hook up for electricity. And they live in these very, very small houses with very few belongings, and everything is energy efficient and compact and basically utilized for their small space and less money to actually live. So some other ways that our book talks about living more lightly is also to live sustainably. This isn't easy. This requires bigger changes than simply recycling or changing your light bulbs to energy efficient light bulbs or driving hybrid cars. This is a full lifestyle change. So some of the things that you can change are in the sustainability dozen, and the human activities that you can do that have the greatest harmful impacts are agriculture, transportation, home energy use, water use, and our overall consumption and waste. So this is figure 25.8 in your book, And 12 ways you can live more lightly are to insulate your house and plug air leaks, reduce meat consumption, buy locally grown food, buy or grow organic food, don't use pesticides in your garden or lawn, walk, bike, carpool, or take mass transit, drive an energy efficient vehicle, reduce your car use, use water saving appliances and irrigation methods, reduce, reuse, and recycle, use energy efficient heating and cooling systems, lights, and appliances, and use renewable energy, especially wind or direct solar energy. So, in some way or another, whether directly or indirectly, we all contribute to environmental problems that we face. So, in order to fix this, we have to change the way we think about and act in our world. We have to move away from blame, guilt, or apathy, like I can't do anything, recycling this one piece of paper isn't going to help. We have to move towards action, which means voting for environmental reform, or contributing with funding, or pushing our politicians to allocate funding to certain things. However, a lot of people stop doing this because of certain mental traps. So the first mental trap is gloom and doom pessimism, and that's like, it's hopeless, we're all doomed anyway, the world is gonna die, people are gonna go extinct, we can't do anything. The second one is blind technological optimism, like, hey, technology will fix it, we'll figure something out, it'll fine, it will save us. Third, paralysis by analysis, which is where you're searching for the perfect worldview, philosophy, scientific information, or solution before you do anything. And finally, the last one is faith in simple and easy answers. This is the one that our politicians generally go to, like, oh, we'll just all recycle the water bottles. Or the current one in the news right now is, we'll get rid of straws, which is great, but that's not going to fix all of our environmental problems. Jane Goodall, who is a researcher who studied apes, said that the greatest danger to our future is apathy. Can we overcome apathy? Yes, but only if we have hope. Technology alone is not enough. We must engage with our hearts also. So we as people have to be flexible and adaptable in trying a variety of cultural and technological solutions to our problem, as well as practice good earthkeeping, meaning we have to be aware of what we're doing to the earth. We have to protect it. We have to do some of these sustainable things in order to help our environmental problems.